teeny tiny little book. All right. We're gonna read this?
No.
That's what we're gonna read.
Dragon's Tale.
Demon's Tale.
Demons.
Demon's Tale by J. Moores. When I got here, it was dark and I was all alone. I lit a match to have a look around. There wasn't much to see. As if from out of nowhere, there she was. Attracted to the light, she hovered nearby. The light seemed to grow stronger as she buzzed around and around. Warmed by the light, she got closer and gave me a kiss. Something happened just then. I think I got a little of her magic, and she got a little of mine. All I know for sure is I was smitten right then and there. For once in my existence, I was in love. I felt like I could go on watching her fly from here to there forever. She is so beautiful to see. Inspired by the sun, the beautiful goddess began to create galaxies, stars, and planets of her own. She created the smallest of the small in all its infinite beauty. She raised up great planets with tall standing trees. Volcanoes would rise and erupt where she stood. The universe came to life all around me. When it was time to cool it down, she poured a river of water. She rode the great beasts with big bushy tails. They would ride with all that hair blowing in the wind and look so free. I waited and tried to get her attention, but she was too busy. It seemed that the more she created, the more there was for her to do. I would lay in her fields as she stood high on the hill, creating clouds, rain, and sky. I would look up, longing for her to take a break and join me, but that never happened. She just went on caring for her many gardens.
Why does she do that and he looks mean and mad?
I don't know. Every living thing needed her attention. I would see her dancing on the grass, cavorting with birds, but never did she make any time for me. She would spend hours tending to her great beasts. She loved them most of all, and they loved her for her kindness. I sat and thought of how I could get her attention. I wanted to give her a gift in hopes it would please her and send her into my arms again. I went to one of her little green planets. I helped them build cities, organize systems and governments. I had the people erect monuments to the beautiful goddess. I created culture, language, commerce, and education to celebrate her and her glory. I suddenly knew the joy she felt in creation, and I lost myself for a brief time to it. I was proud of my little place, and I could not wait to show her my accomplishment. When I finally found her, she told me that she was too busy and that I'd have to wait. Although I was frustrated, I waited for a very long time. Eventually, when all the gardens had been watered and all the great beasts had been tended to, she found the time to join me. "Look what I've done with one of your little worlds." I held the small sphere up to her face proudly. But her face was not one of joy. She seemed upset. All she saw was struggle, pain, pollution, war, and disease. She gave me a look of horror and turned away from me in disgust. I had failed. My efforts only made matters worse between us. No matter how hard I tried, I could not make amends. I went down to the waterhole to talk with the goddess sister. The mermaid, splashing in the cool, clear water, told me to forget all about the goddess and to swim away with her. Although the mermaid is very kind, I just can't imagine myself with a fish. She didn't have any advice I could use and was no help at all.
So I was like, I can't marry a fish.
That's right.
What happens if he does?
Then he'd have to go underwater with her.
Yeah,
And maybe he doesn't want to live underwater.
yeah. He would have to close his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And mermaids don't need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They could open their mouth.
Yeah, because they live there.
Yeah. And demons don't.
That's right.
They just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Like magic.
That's right.
They're magical.
Over time, my sad desperation and loneliness grew to anger. I began to hate the goddess and all that she created. Most of all, I hated the little world that caused her to hate me. She avoided me at all costs. We had become enemies. I became vengeful. I still had power over the little world I helped to organize. I decided that I would wipe out her name. I created patriarchy and made them slowly forget the goddess. I had all families follow the man's name. I had them celebrate male births and mourn the birth of female children. In some places, I made it punishable by death to erect images of her. I threw this little world so far out of balance that it stood as a monument to my hatred. The entire universe could feel my wrath. It hurt the goddess and reduced her powers and enthusiasm. It took her motivation away. Eventually, I never saw her again. Now that she's gone, my anger is not so strong. I'm very sad and I'm lonely. The great beasts seem so lost without her. They wander the hills looking for the goddess. I will stay here to care for them until the day she returns. The end.
I like that story.
You do?
It finally came. In the mayor.